So when you're out there door knocking your insurance leads, does it feel a little bit like this?
Yeah. Say.
I'm here because you had requested some information on. But I just need a few minutes to show you how this works, and I'll be on my way. Can I come in? Or how about when you're working the phone to set appointments or sell insurance over the phone? Does it seem a little bit like this? Mr. Jones, hey, this is David Duford calling you about that burial insurance program.
Y'all, don't call me.
Excuse me?
Don't need no burial insurance.
No, you
don't know
sent
who you is.
You sent back a
Don't
card.
fool me no more. I don't know who y'all is. I don't want what y'all got.
Well, you
y'all keep
filled
y'all
out
got.
a card and.
Y'all.
And after all that abuse you take on the phone and in person, does it feel a little bit like this? I hate my life. Chances are, if you feel like this and experience this a lot as an insurance agent, it's likely that you need more training and more help with how to work your insurance leads. And in this video today, I'm going to teach you in depth my entire system to working your insurance leads like a pro. And this is no softball or pulled punches type of training. I'm going to be going in detail about how to strategically get the most out of working your insurance leads, whether you door knock to uncover sales opportunities, whether you get on the phone to close or set appointments. And the outcome of all of this is that you're going to have a more complete, holistic strategy to get you into more doors, to get you into more presentations, and to close more insurance policies. So if you're interested, let's get started. Greetings and salutations. It's David Duford, owner of Duford Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell things like final expense, Medicare, and annuities. Thank you so much, as always, for watching my channel. Make sure you subscribe and like if you like this content. And check out how I recruit agents nationally at davidduford.com/FAQ. So the purpose of today's video is to teach you agents out there how to work your insurance leads like a pro. Now, the emphasis of today's training is not so much on the presentation side of the equation. Instead, it's going to be more on the acquisition of said presentation. In other words, what I'm going to spend my time doing here is to teach you strategically everything that I have personally implemented as an agent since 2011, and what I've taught my agents, thousands of them across the country, selling final expense, Medicare, and other products, how to get into more doors, whether that's knocking on doors to see somebody in person, or using the phone to set an appointment to either see them in person or to sell them in person. My goal for you in watching today's program is to get actionable information that you can immediately use in whatever kind of insurance product sales that you're doing, so that you can help more people, so that you can see more people, and that you personally can get more opportunity and profitability out of this business by closing more deals, because now you're in more homes. And make sure you hang out to the end, because we're not just going to talk about calling and door knocking strategies. I'm going to include a third X factor that I think is really going to make the entirety of this training that much more effective. That's going to apply no matter if you're selling over the phone, remotely, say over Zoom, or in person still. So make sure you watch this whole video to get the third variable that I think makes the biggest difference out of all of them. Okay, so let's first start with how we dial our leads and get more appointments or presentations using the phone. So first of all, some strategies that I like to use, whether I'm setting an appointment face-to-face or trying to call to sell over the phone. First of all is a concept called triple dialing. What is triple dialing? Triple dialing means that if the client or prospect that you are trying to dial doesn't pick up on that first call, you dial again for a second time, and likewise, if they don't pick up that second time, you dial again for the third time. So why is triple dialing so effective? First of all, it gets people broken out of their normal behavior pattern dealing with the phone. Let's think about it in your life, right? I mean, if you see somebody call you and it's an unrecognized number, you don't pick it up. Nobody does, right? However, what if you saw that number a second time or a third time, pretty close in proximity from the original call? That might make you think twice about whether or not you should answer it. Especially by that third time, you might be thinking, well, what if it's a friend who's calling from somebody else's number and there's an emergency and they need my help? your typical behavior dealing with that telemarketing call has dramatically changed. And the likelihood of you, as well as our prospects, picking up that phone is much higher. So we use the triple dial technique to just simply get people broken out of their behavior so they'll pick up the phone more often, and so that we can convert more of those phone attempts into actual presentations or attempts to book an appointment. But Dave, doesn't triple dialing piss off a lot of people and make them want to hang up and not talk to you? That's a great question, and the truth is that no, not really. Here's the thing, people do answer that phone in an alarmed state, but if you're good at your script and you get right to business, it's likely that their level of anxiety will reduce as they understand why you're calling. And what you get as a benefit of this is, A, they're going to be much more inclined to listen to what you have to say because you've sent them into a state of anxiety, and they're going to be much more in tune with figuring what is all these calls all about. And then number two, let's face it, I'd rather them answer the phone pissed off than never answering at all. There's nothing worse in the insurance sales business than an unresolved lead. I want a yes or a no. And the maybe, meaning will they pick up the phone or not, is really what I think ends more careers in the insurance business than the no's do. So another thing I think that needs to be explained too is the frequency and the dial start and end times. So understand first of all when you should start calling your leads. I think starting around 8:30 to 9 o'clock in the morning is a really good time, especially before 9. You're going to get a lot of pickups that normally wouldn't pick up during the remainder of the day simply because it's so early outside the norm of when the phones ring. And some people just haven't left the house and they're not getting a lot of calls, so their likelihood of picking up is going to be outside the normal, again, behavior pattern like what we mentioned earlier, and you're likely to get more pickups between 8:30 a.m. and 9 a.m. than really any other time of the day. But any time really between 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. is completely fine to call. Now, if I'm asked to give a best case scenario of when the best time to call, personally, I like calling between 9 and 11 a.m. and then also between 6 and 9 p.m. with a benefit or preference over the 6 to 9 p.m. time, because that's generally when people are home of all age groups. They're sitting down for dinner, they're relaxing for the evening. That is the single best time to call, especially between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. It has the kind of similar reaction that calling from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. has, in that it's a little bit later than usual, and you're going to get more pickups and people who are going to speak with you. Now, as far as calling goes, what days of the week do you call? Any days of the week are fine. I've had great results on Saturdays and especially on Sundays if you're comfortable calling on a Sunday, especially between 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Again, nobody's really calling their leads on a Sunday, much less a Saturday, so the pickup rate tends to be a lot better. And again, you're going to get people out of that typical behavior pattern and more likely to pick the phone up and then listen to you. Now, how frequently do you actually call your leads to try to acquire an appointment or a telesales or remote type of presentation? Personally, I call as much as humanly possible throughout the day. That means if I sit down at 9 o'clock and I start dialing my 20 or 30 leads, whatever number that I have, and I get through those in, say, 30, 40, 50 minutes, I'm going to take a quick break, 5-10 minutes, and then I'm going to pick back up and start from the first lead that I originally started with. That means if I'm sitting down for a call block that lasts all day long, I might call my leads 5 times, 7 times, maybe even 10 times in one day. It all depends on how many appointments I ultimately set. But I don't give myself a certain number that I won't go over, because I have something of very much importance to them that they need to listen to and understand. And I'm trying to beat the clock here, because what if their health changes? What if they buy from another agent? I don't care about being perceived as being annoying or having the client in a state of anxiety. If they would just pick up the phone and tell me no if they weren't interested, I'd leave them alone. But the nature of how we are dialing here is just that most people don't pick up the phone, and we have to dial our leads to death. So it's very important to embrace this idea that, well, I don't want to call more than 3 times a day. That's kind of like old school. Nowadays, you just have to be relentless in the number of times you call, and you have to just fill all that open space that you have in your dial days with calling your leads over and over and over and over again until you book up the next day's appointments. So one thing that does help when you do outbound dials, whether you're doing presentations over the phone or face-to-face, is to rotate your phone. You can get a Google Voice number, a Skype number. You can have different phone numbers. I would absolutely recommend that you consider doing that because it's easier to call more than a couple of times a day because it's not the same number, or at least the client may not necessarily perceive it's you all 10 times. That they'll perceive it as 3 or 4 different people calling a couple of times a day. So you still get the call volume in, but you kind of trip them up and think, oh, it's not the same person calling 10, 20 times a day, and thus be more likely that I think they'll pick up. Another tactic you can use is also *67 your number a couple of times when you do outbound. So if you're making outbound calls and you're in a situation where, you know, maybe you've called a bunch one day, try *67 it so they don't understand who it is because it says that it's blocked or unknown. And again, that might trigger somebody to pick up that otherwise wouldn't pick up for a known number. Last but not least, one of the things that you need to be aware of in the present day is the carriers out there who are aggressively labeling us legitimate insurance agents trying to reach our clients as spam likely or telemarketer calls. It's really important that you understand that if your calls are showing up like this, it may be an attempt by a carrier to help the other person understand arbitrarily whether you're somebody like a cold caller or regular person. And the point is that having a listing on your phone when you do outbound calls as spam likely is going to reduce your pickup rate. So one thing I recommend is there's an old video, and I'll link it in the chat below, and we'll show a screenshot of it right now. There's an old video of mine where I show you how to uncover and eliminate this spam likely filter that gets applied to people who do a lot of calls like us, and so that you can actively petition these cell phone carriers and just telephone carriers that you're a legitimate caller, you're giving information back to people who requested it, and that's going to hopefully help reduce the spam likely labeling that you'll get if you don't do it, thus help improve pickup rates. Last but not least, let me leave you with a script that you can use. I'm going to first start with the appointment setting script, then I'm going to start with just an opening script that you can use if you're selling over the phone. And the purpose of these is to get you into the door if you're face-to-face, or to get you into a sales conversation with your client. So let's first start with the face-to-face script, then we'll do the telesales remote script. Mrs. Jones, David Duford here, getting back to you about this green postcard you sent in the mail requesting information about our new state-regulated final expense programs. And the reason I'm calling is it's my job to deliver this information to you. What you do with it's up to you. And I'm going to be in your area tomorrow. I wonder if I should stop by at 10 o'clock or does 2 work better? And now here is the telesale script to get you into a conversation. Mrs. Jones, David Duford calling you back about this information you requested on Facebook about our new state-regulated life insurance programs. You said that your favorite hobby was fishing. I'm the agent that's responsible for following up and helping you out to get the information that you requested. So I see, like you said, your favorite hobby is fishing. What do you do for fishing down in Chattanooga? Okay, so now that we've gone over some strategies of working insurance leads like a pro for calling, let's transition to how to work insurance leads like a pro when it comes to door knocking and trying to get in to an appointment face-to-face. So let's talk about times and frequencies of door knocking. So first of all, door knocking can be really started as early as 8:30 to 9 a.m. in the morning up till 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. Now, there's some things that I personally put some restrictions on that I'm concerned with. First of all, I don't really like knocking personally as a male past sundown, especially since a lot of our older clients are seniors. They kind of get spooked by it. So what I prefer to do instead when I'm door knocking, and let's say somebody can't see me immediately, I'll try to book them for a later time at night that I don't have an appointment already set. So if sun goes down at 6:30, I try to book an appointment at say 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and try to fill that prospecting time with preset appointments so that it's not a total loss and I've got to go home early. As far as frequency of door knocking, I think you should door knock as much as humanly possible. Certainly because someone doesn't answer the door the first time doesn't mean that they're not a good prospect. I think you should go back again and again and again and try to get in front of these people as many times as humanly possible. Try to vary up the times that you're door knocking. Let's say that you door knock in the morning. Maybe they work a normal job, or maybe they're at the doctor's all day frequently. Maybe they're at dialysis, as that may be in many cases. So they're gone in the morning several times a week. So try them mid-afternoon. Try them in the evening. Try different times to door knock if the first attempt doesn't seem to work very well. Another thing that I like to use, and make sure you check your state DOI guidelines on this. I know Utah has had an issue with this with a particular agent in the past. I've heard through the grapevines. It's what's called a sticky note. So a sticky note delivery notice essentially is a 4 by 6 inch delivery notice that you put your information on. And the concept of it is that it's me delivering information to them. It's a notice that I've been there. And you list on there that this is your final attempt to you show up, and that you put your name and then a phone number that they can call. And the goal here is to get them to call you. And instead of like talking to them on the phone, this is an indication that your prospect's at home and that you can turn around your car, drive back to that home, and knock on that door with confidence, knowing that they are expecting a door knock and B, that they're home. So what a delivery notice does is it gets you into more doors, it gets you in front of more people than had you not had it. And in my experience, it may be about 1 out of 3 to 1 out of maybe 2.5 will actually answer the door. So it's not something that's foolproof, but it does help increase your door knocking strategy percentage so that you can knock more people and hopefully resolve more leads, either getting in the door or just getting rid of that lead because they're not interested. So some pro tips on door knocking. First off, you're running up to a home, not an apartment. I advise that you door knock the side door, not the front door. Most people don't use their front door, they use their side doors, especially friends and family. So make sure that you knock on the side door instead of the front door. Also, when you get out of your vehicle, make sure you wave at the window even if there's nobody visually there. Some people do peek out and they're kind of wondering who it is and what's going on. And if they see you wave, they may be taken as, oh, the person sees and acknowledges me. Thus, they're a little more obligated to answer the door instead of like hiding out from you. When you go to door knock, make sure that after you knock on the door, you look through the little peephole in front of you, and you should see some light that kind of comes out of it. But as soon as it goes black, that's an eyeball that's looking at you. Make sure you wave at them there too, because again, they are assessing if they should talk to you or not. So when you see that eye go in or you see the light go dark, that's your chance to, again, make some kind of first impression. And again, obligate them that much more to actually answering the door. As far as the door knocking goes, I always like to door knock like I'm a police officer. I don't give the wussy little, soft part of my fist and, knocking so the seniors who can't hear anything anyway won't hear that. I always knock with the first 2 knuckles, and I knock 7 to 11 times. I want people to stop in their tracks and be like, who is that? And then completely pay all their attention to getting to the door and figuring out who it is so they can assess if they should talk to me or not. I'd rather have that opportunity to again, grasp their attention than, kind of go half pregnant with the door knock and then maybe they don't hear me or they just kind of ignore it. So I like the strategy, always worked well for me. It catches people's attention. Also, one last tip here before I show you my script that I like to use. Don't really ever use the actual doorbell. The doorbell doesn't work maybe about half the time I have found. So for me, I always like the door knock because A, people are used to hitting the doorbell. They're not used to hearing door knocks. And I can always rest assured with the intensity of my door knock that it will definitely be heard, where maybe about half the time with these doorbells they don't work, thus won't be heard half the time. So let me give you a script that I've used for many years personally as a final expense agent, as well as I've taught thousands of agents. And guys, even if you're not selling final expense, you can trade out the words that reference final expense or life insurance and trade it with whatever it is that you're doing. This lead script works really well, whether you're working a direct mail lead or even if you're cold calling. So here's how it sounds. Hey, you're Mrs. Jones, right? Yeah, nice to meet you. My name is David Duford, and the reason I'm here is because you requested this information on our state-regulated final expense programs, and I was in between appointments, and it's my job to deliver this information to you. It only takes 5 minutes to go over it, and I was wondering if you could sit out on the porch with me or if I could come in. Now that we've covered door knocking and calling, let's wrap up this training video with the X Factor strategies that I believe will make a huge impact on converting more of your attempts to work your leads into actual presentations, no matter if you sell over the phone set appointments over the phone too, or sell face-to-face. So first of all is texting. Texting is a fantastic way to get more people that would otherwise ignore you on a call or a door knock to pay attention to your solicitation and to elicit some kind of response from them. Now, it's really important that you understand this before you text, that you need explicit opt-in to actually text a lead. Anytime you don't have explicit opt-in from the prospect to text them, you run the risk of getting a TCPA violation and could be sued if somebody's savvy enough to know the law. So what I recommend is, if you're going to text, make sure you use leads that have opt-in permission to receive SMS texting. A lot of Facebook lead and digital lead vendors allow this. Other leads don't know so much, so understand to heed caution before you use any of these kind of texting strategies I'm about to go over, and make sure that you're compliant before you do. So I've been playing with texting in my agency and my call center that we have for final expense, as well as teaching agents to utilize text messages when compliant with their leads. And we've kind of come up with a couple of strategies that work really well. And I want to kind of tell you what I'm doing that you can implement that I think you'll get an immediate boost in the responses and people paying attention to you. So the first idea here is that to use an initial opening text somewhere within the first, second, or third call, and then a closing text after you've made lots of calls and you've attempted for a week or two to try to reach out to somebody. So here's the opening text. It's very simple, but very effective. The opening text simply is the prospect's first name with a question mark. That's all you text the client. You don't go into detail about who you are, why you're calling. You don't cover anything regarding the information they request. You simply say their first name and a question mark. This alone is going to elicit extreme curiosity on behalf of the prospect. They see your text message. They don't know who you are, but they know that you know who they are, which kind of gets people a little disturbed. So many people that would otherwise ignore other kinds of text messages, certainly your phone calls, are going to respond back. And the important thing to understand with this strategy, it doesn't matter what they say back to you, because anything that they say back to you is confirmation that they're paying attention to you, which is exactly where you want them. Now, the reply text message that I like to use is to then go into clearly who I am and why I'm calling. So I would use something like my appointment setting script or my sales script that I'm trying to contact the client over the phone with, to then set an appointment or get on the phone with them. This strategy works really well for us to get started, to get people interested in talking to us, to pay attention to what we're doing. And I would ask you to give it a shot and let me know in the chat what you think or in the comments below. I think it works really, really well. The second kind of text I like to use is one after I've tried to call a lot. I've certainly tried that initial first name question mark type of text, and I just haven't gotten a response from them. At this point, I'm going to text maybe a week to 10 to 14 days in and text something along the lines of saying, first name question mark, this is David Duford reaching back to you about the information you requested on our final expense programs. You said that your favorite hobby was fishing. I've tried calling and texting you to see about helping you out. Are you still interested? Question mark. So the strategy behind this is to, as opposed to the first text, is to be totally transparent about why we're reaching out to them and who we are and what the purpose and intent of it was, and then to end with the "Are you still interested?" text. Saying "Are you still interested?" is a way for the client to say yes or no, but it gives you the ability to resolve whether or not you should end this text message follow-up sequence and call follow-up sequence and spend your time on better opportunity leads, or to continue to dial them because maybe they got caught up into something and they forgot, and it just kind of lost a track of mind with it, and it kind of helps reinvigorate the interest in the lead if they in fact reply. For example, I had Chris or Gino, who these are a couple agents that work in my final expense call center, and we had implemented this a while back, and I got some positive confirmation from them the other day, and they said that concluding text message works really well. They've had a few leads they've been calling on for a couple of weeks, and one lady called back and said, sorry, I've been sick, I've been caught up in personal issues, I'm definitely still interested. Try to call me back at this time, or something like that. So now you know a little bit more about how to utilize texting in your insurance lead working strategy. Let me conclude with just some big picture concepts that I think are really important to include whenever you work any kind of lead, to set an appointment or at the door or over the phone, or trying to sell them over the phone. So the first one here on the list is the idea that what do you do with the people who never pick up the phone? Well, I think you got to have the mentality when dialing that you're dialing till the point where they buy or die. Now, I'm not talking about people who say, don't call me, I'm not interested, and they ask to be put on the DNC, but I'm talking about leads that never actually resolve. These are still possibilities. These are still prospects that you should still work. Now, what happens over time if you're working fresh leads, certainly the propensity to work a lead you've called 25 times is less important than working the lead that just came in last night. I would want you to spend your time and attention on the freshest of leads first, but that doesn't exclude why you shouldn't try or why you should not work the older leads. It just places less importance on them. But let's say there's a week that goes by where you don't get as many fresh leads. I would still be calling all those old leads, trying to work up opportunities to sell them until I hear a yes, come on over, or yes, I'm going to buy, or a no, I'm not interested anymore. Many agents have had plenty of opportunities where they've had leads sitting around for months, even years, and it was just a function of timing. They stopped by or called them at the right time, and they're very interested, and the deal went through. So don't discount your older leads, especially the ones that you've never talked to. Keep calling them at regular intervals throughout your career, and you'll be shocked at what you'll run into as far as converting those into sales. So the last bit of advice really is for those of you who are selling face-to-face and you're using the phone to set appointments. Don't pre-qualify your leads. This is especially important as a new agent. The script that we used earlier is designed to get into as many doors as possible without pre-qualifying on health or budget or any of those factors. Understand that in the business of insurance, it's all about seeing the people, and there are a lot of opportunities that you just won't necessarily be aware of until you actually run the appointments and see the person. So don't try to get rid of prospects prematurely. See everybody. Get practice. Uncover opportunities that the prospect didn't even realize was there to sell them an insurance policy. Just focus on selling the appointment, not pre-qualifying for the sale, and I promise you, you're going to see a lot of opportunity in as far as getting policies issued for clients. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this helped get you perspective on how to work your insurance leads like a pro. These tips and strategies I have utilized personally for a decade and have trained thousands of agents to do the same. So understand that using these are things that aren't untested or unproven. These strategies actually work. And when you got a strategy that works and you're not using it, you should think about considering implementing it to see more people and to help more people and to make this business that much more profitable and lucrative for you. As always, thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to learn more about the Ford Insurance Group, where I train agents to sell final expense, Medicare, and annuities successfully, go to davidduford.com/FAQ. Thanks as always for watching. Y'all take care.